Hey guys, I'm the Thoughtful Beast, aka Trixie. I am here with Whit of Whit Cycling. I'm super excited to have him here today to talk. Whit, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, ma'am. So I am Garnett, aka Whit, and I am a avid cyclist slash bicycle racer. But a little bit more in depth of who I am. I am originally from Kansas City, Missouri. I am been in the military for 18 years. I'm in the United States Navy, Seabees to be exact. Um, Originally stationed in Gulfport, Mississippi. Went on my way to Maryland, and then back to Mississippi, and now here in the wonderful state of California. I'm also married. I've been married for 16 years to Talia, and we have two beautiful children, Jada, which is 20, and then my son Elijah, which is 14. We also have a wonderful dog named Socks. So all is well. What else? So got into cycling, looking for a hobby, and cycling was it. We of course wanted to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, from ATV, fishing, motorcycles, but just one day fell in love with bicycling, and so it's really gone from there. And it goes on and on and on from there. So it's really, cycling is really my hobby, it's my passion, and I'm just so happy to be able to have found the hobby that really, embodies me.
Yeah, hobbies are so important. They can be so healing,
Mm-hmm.
and even meditative. Like
Oh
especially
yeah,
something like cycling, and it's great because it also there's exercise too, and obviously that's wonderful. But also just the meditative part of it,
absolutely,
like being able to clear your mind and breathe, is super
absolutely.
nice.
Yes.
Um, and before I'm totally gonna mention it to you in hopes that either you or I will remember because it just came up in my head. I have a friend, Alex, who does a podcast on hobbies, and I feel like it would you'd be great to talk on it if that's something that interests you. It's his podcast is literally called Time for Your Hobby.
Sweet,
Um, and
sweet.
yeah, and he loves meeting new people.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I
And
feel like put that out there now before come
before you
on,
forget,
remember. Yeah,
yeah,
remember.
I love it.
Um, so let's talk about your wonderful t-shirt and 25 miles for justice. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so 25 miles for justice. Of course, we are in a double negative situation right now in America, and of course, the first one is the coronavirus. Second one being the injustice with between black males or just blacks, as well as the police force in America. On May 25th, Mr. George Floyd, he was choked out, was under the knee of ex-officer Chavano for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Seeing a lot of the different things from Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, all the different people that have gone through the police brutality or injustice, Breonna Taylor, seeing all that stuff, you knew about it, you heard about it, but it wasn't right, but we kept moving on. And I'm talking about myself specifically, just kept moving on. Seeing what happened to Mr. Floyd, it stuck with me, and seeing him call out for his mother stuck with me. And then to find out that his mother had passed 2 years prior to that, around the same time, it hit me. Like, it hit me really, really hard. And so I immediately wanted to do something. And I began to ask my wife what I should do, and just different things that came to my mind. And, you know, 25 miles for justice came to my mind. Again, I'm a cyclist. And so, we go by the standard measuring system, miles most of the time. And so the 25 is symbolic of, again, the day that this occurrence happened, as well as the 25 represents that at 9:25 that evening, he was pronounced dead. Um, and so the 25 is symbolic of the day in which it happened, as well as the minute of which his life was officially gone. So 25 Miles for Justice became a movement that I just started putting out there, um, underneath the Bonfire campaign, which is a T-shirt making company. And I quickly did all of this stuff, and I wanted to get 25 Miles for Justice out there just so that we can be a movement and a stance for justice. And what it does is it encourages people to get up and move. And 25 miles doesn't have to be just 25 miles. It could be 25 minutes, 25 seconds, 25 days, 25 hours, whatever it is. But it's just the embodiment of moving, being active, doing something for justice. And that's where it all really started. So this is actually a shirt. I actually just got this today from another t-shirt
Yeah.
manufacturing company that I've used in the past for some Whit merch that I used earlier in the year. But I did these t-shirts and I did patches and I've done stickers, and it really just held, and people have really just embraced it and have supported the movement and have been very uplifting and encouraging. They're appreciative of me doing something because a lot of people, again, with this double issue that we're dealing with, they don't know what to do. They can't go out and really engage with other people because you got the coronavirus. But at the same time, they do see the injustice. They do see the lack of equality, and they want to do something. And so a lot of people have told me and reached out to me, letting me know that they're really appreciative that 25 Miles for Justice gives them something to do, even if they're out, by themselves. I've had yoga people that try to hold certain poses for 25 seconds. And, I've had runners that had to, break it down 5 miles a day just to contribute to the movement. And so what I did, all the funds underneath the bonfire account, and there's actually still going on. It's still live right now. We're working on batch number 3 right now. All the proceeds go to, of course, a part of it goes to the t-shirts being made, but all the remaining proceeds go to the NAACP LDF, and LDF stands for Legal Defense and Education Fund. And so it's kind of a separate entity from the actual NAACP, but that's just the name that they've been tagged with. And so what that does is it goes to giving justice and equality for all Americans. And so it was something that, I wanted to be able to give to. No proceed went to me. All the proceeds went to the LDF, and we have raised well over $4,000 for that. And it's really been my heart, and it's something that I don't want to let go. And I'm just consistently looking for ways to keep pushing this agenda, keep pushing this movement, keep pushing this cause, because again, it's all about, we need justice. And of course, a lot of change is happening in America today. And I just pray that 25 Miles for Justice can be a part of that.
Yeah, I think it's so cool, and it's so clever in different ways, especially because what you said, so many people now feel so helpless and so hopeless, and the fear that people get from coronavirus is real. There many people want to protest, but they don't, they're too afraid, they have children. There's many reasons they don't want to go. That's health wise, and then other things. And it's great that you're dude, it's gonna be cycling. Because one, I'm such a fan of just the fact that this is already your hobby, right? I think it's so wonderful that you found how to make your hobby even more meaningful. Yes, and how to do something, you literally started something that you are automatically going to be more successful at it because you already do it.
Oh, thank you.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
That, and that's so smart. It's something that you love already, and you're just dude, let's just give it more meaning. Absolutely. You took something that cycling already meant something to you, and then George Floyd and the day of, and the horrible thing that happened to him, his murder, that meant something to you, and then for you to put it together into something so positive and for change is amazing. Thank you. The thing is it's so cool because when you think about just the fact that it doesn't just have to be cycling, it can be exercise of any kind, and then that just makes the entrance to being part of the movement just way more accessible.
Absolutely.
Because it's specific, but then it can also become specific to you.
Absolutely.
And so I can do 25 jumping jacks at home.
Absolutely.
That's something easy that I can do, and it's something that people can also keep doing, which I think is important too. the trend is dying. The trend part is dying from this, which is obviously that was going to happen.
Yeah,
You know, and so like
absolutely.
everyone's hopes is like, okay, well, how, you know, like we're all focused on how do we make this go past a trend?
What's the
How do
next
people
step?
still,
Yeah.
yeah, what is the next step? And so I feel like what you started like is great for that, because
Yeah.
like everyone is like, there's so many people interested in exercise, you know, and they might not realize like how doing the thing that they again already do every day can become something way more meaningful.
Absolutely. And every route that I do, anything, I mean, usually I try to do more than 25 miles when I ride. But when I do 25 miles plus, I always try to, even on my Instagram stories, I always try, and that's something that I love about it too, is that every 25 miles that I do, and now that I've kind of gone to the dark side, as they call it, I ride in kilometers. So everything is in kilometers, and you know, I've gone to the dark side. So, but 25 miles is 40.3 kilometers. So every time I come across 40.3 kilometers, I immediately start. It's just kind of like, you know, when you go somewhere, you take a picture. My mind works the same way. When I get around 25 miles, I automatically start thinking about 25 miles for justice. I already start thinking about, you know, doing some type of post. And usually it's an Instagram story post where I say, hey, you already know this 40.3 kilometers is for justice. And so again, it's just the way that when it does die, and of course, all this stuff dies down, and we all know that. You know, right now, Black Lives Matter. It's high. It's rep. You know, everybody is on it. But what matters the most is what companies and what people do when the hype dies down, and that's why I am excited about this, because you know, I've had people already kind of pouring into my cup, talking about, you know, make this an annual thing. Every May 25th, do something, you know, do something for 25 miles for justice. So it's something that can live on like a holiday. It's something that can, you know, keep inspiring and keep uplifting and encouraging people for justice. And again, you know, it's not just a ride for justice, as I see a lot of stuff happening now. They're doing rides for justice or runs for justice, which really kind of narrows it down to what people can do. But with it being miles, miles can be done in many facets, and so I'm really excited about it, and it's a part of my heart. And there's so many things that I want to do, because it's just, you know, and of course it's all evolved around cycling, because as you said earlier, it's something that I'm very passionate and I love to do.
Yeah, and like just hearing you talk, like I love like the passion in just hearing you talk. Like it's so obvious that you're like, I am about this. Like, and like, you know, and like that's like probably one of the reasons why people are for you and with you, because it's for like a wonderful cause, and you can see how genuine you are with it, and again, like how passionate and energetic with it, and in a time again where like we're all like, oh god, another day. You know, like that's what people need. Like that's like that gives people hope. Again, like just being able to feel like that you can do something in our quarantine situation, like that does mean a lot for people.
Right.
And again, your passion definitely means a lot for people. I'm just gonna do this really quick.
It's very weird, you know. It's very weird it's very weird, you know. And I think what also helps drive my passion for it is because I actually was out of it for 5 years. You know, I got it. You know, I got into the part of my bio with cycling I didn't really go into, but I got into cycling in 2009, 2010, and so I rode for roughly up until the end of 2011, early 2012. Hurt my back a little bit, which was just like a back spasm issue. But after that, and then being in Mississippi, I just didn't feel, again, you know, Southern Mississippi, there's not a lot of, you know, not a lot of bike lanes in Mississippi. And then just being honest, being a black man on a bike wasn't a lot of us in Mississippi. So I would have had to ride in some very sketchy locations and some backwoods. And I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. And so I just didn't do it. So I think that gap, that 5-year gap, and then now being here in California and just seeing how much time I've missed with not riding also helps fuel that, because it's like being in the military really makes you time conscious. Like you don't have as much time as you think you do. And so, you know, especially being a racer and riding with guys that have been doing it not as long as you have been doing it, but they've been riding consistently longer than you. it really put some fuel in me. But at the same time, being in the Navy for 18 years and enjoying impacting people and encouraging people and leading people, it almost, you could say, it almost comes naturally. A lot of times I hear people say, if this was my job, if I did this as my, you don't want to make your hobby your job because then you won't enjoy it anymore. But I don't think that's true. I think if it's something that you truly love and passionate about, it will go easy. You wouldn't call it work. Like, I wouldn't say I'm waking up to go to work. Like, my mind is churning and burning. You know what I mean? And it's, I have to sometimes stop myself because I find myself working and thinking about things while I'm driving. And I'm literally like on my phone, like, stop, bro. And it's because it's just if I could wake up every day and do what I feel like I embody with wanting to get cycling out there and getting it in front of people and sharing it to people more than just riding your bike to your best friend's house and it's sitting in your lawn for 10 hours. That's it. And so I think this also helps with, now, like you said earlier, actually having a cause behind it. So now when you get on your bike or whenever you do what it is that you do, you have a reason why you're doing it.
Yeah. And that's so strong and purposeful, but also really easy. Like, like that's why
Absolutely.
it's so great. Because the thing is, like, it's like building habits. Like, the easier it is for you, you're gonna do it. And so just, like me, like if I'm on a treadmill for 25 minutes and like I associate with 25 minutes, I'm like, oh yes. And then I remember like George Floyd and like thinking about like keep fighting for justice, and to have that, like, even that moment of little self-reflection, like that means a lot. Because like
It
you said
does.
earlier, like, like things go away, like the trends, like they go away. And like a lot of us, like, like Black Lives Matter isn't new. Like, it's not new.
No.
And so, like it has like a really big surge right now, and that's great. But like, I can already look back and like look at myself, like, to be honest, and be like, oh, remember when I was passionate about that for like a hot second? It was a hot second. And then like what happened? And so it's just like, let's do better now. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Looking at myself in disappointment, I'm just like, how can we do better now?
Absolutely.
And so like, I like, that's like such a great thing. Like, and I guess I'm happy too, because I'm like, I can hook on to this too really easy. Because like, like looking for ways how to like ingrain it in your lifestyle, like, and how to keep having that self-reflective dialogue with yourself, like, like self-reflection. We talked about it when we met before, and like a lot of people talk about it, like with this, like there has to be a lot of self-reflection.
Oh yes. It's, for me, it's a lot because, again, I'm a Black man, and so it's breaking conversations down. And I think a big thing, especially with being a Black man with a Black son, it's home. Like, it's literally on my doorstep. And so I'm a realist. I call myself an optimistic realist. Like, I'm looking for the best of everything and anything, but at the same time, I'm gonna keep it real. And so, I explained to my son some situations that happen even in the household. We have to be mindful, because that thing that you may only assume to be so small on the outside, it may be small, but because of how it's interpreted and because of the color of your skin and because you're male, it's now something bigger than you. So it is very present to us. It is very real to us. And it makes us reflect a lot. Even when I'm out riding, my wife even shared with me, she said, I say be safe, but I don't mean just you crashing. You know what I mean? I don't mean you just hitting some gravel and going down. I'm also thinking about the situations that we're dealing with as Black people. And that's the aspect of justice that we need. Like, we shouldn't have to be worried about, oh, because of my skin color, I'm gonna be treated a certain way. I'm gonna be talked to a certain way. First and foremost, I didn't pick to be this color. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, when I was in my mom's womb, it wasn't checking a box. Do you want to be this? I didn't get to pick. So again, I look at it. We all should be just treated as humans. So we can so we all can be treated fairly. We all can be treated righteously. And I think that's where justice comes in. It's like, man, just treat me like you want to be treated. Just treat me equal to you. Whether you're a man or a woman, it shouldn't matter. Can I get the job done? Am I doing anything wrong? If I'm not, it should just be fair treatment across the board. And that's why we got to do something. Change is needed for justice because it's needed.
Yes, yes. Change is definitely necessary, like, for justice. And again, I also love how you like chose the word justice. Because it's so, because unfortunately so many people like, I don't like, they just think that like the movement isn't real, you know, like they're fine, or like people just think racism isn't real,
Right,
like
right.
that's not a thing anymore, like.
And you don't have to whisper that word. That's why I
uh,
stopped. I heard Don Lemon say, and I listen to CNN. I mean, and I watch all. I'm not far left. I'm not far right. I'm in the middle. And he said something. He said, and I encourage you with this. Don't whisper it. It is what it is. Racism, black, white, or whatever. It is what it is. Whether you whisper it or not, guess what? It still is. It is what it
yeah,
is. And so you're absolutely right. Racism needs to be dealt with in America.
it does, and justice needs to be brought, like there it just does, like it's you know, with all the news happening with black men all of a sudden all hanging themselves, like, and to see that like injustice when it's very clear, like, yeah,
Like,
like we're both like,
first off, knowing the history of us being hung, why would we subject ourselves to that type of cultural and physical torture? Like, come on. It just doesn't make sense. And I think at the end of the day, right is right and wrong. I think that's the basis that I live off of. Like, right is right and wrong is wrong. Like, I mean, there's really no more conversation needed. Was it right? What you did, was it right? No. What you did, was it wrong? Yes. All right. So you're wrong. I mean, yeah. So the view the I explained to my wife, and I said I'm all about hearing people out and listening to what they have to say. And I'm curious to people who don't like. I have an issue with now people saying I don't see color. You have to. You have to. And the reason why you have to, and I'm gonna flip it on you. If you don't see color, you're gonna run the red light. If you don't see color, you're gonna find yourself in a problem. Hence, we're in a problem. So therefore, we need you to recognize it. We need you to see the color so that you then can understand what it means. When you see the red light, you'll know that that means stop, so forth and so on. So we need people to see the color, and we need people to understand the color. This is why we have this problem. And I like to use this story because this is something that I dealt with my wife in early stages of our marriage. You know, I would hang out with certain people and it would make her feel a certain way, but I couldn't understand that until she flipped it on me. She said, "Now, what if I hung out with people just like that? How would you feel?" And I said, "I wouldn't like it." She said, "Exactly. The feeling is the same." So the issue that people are having is they have not yet connected to the feeling. So what has to happen is you first got to see the color, and then you got to give the connection of feeling to the injustice happening to that color. When people can connect to the injustice to that color, they will understand because they understand the feeling, because the feeling is mutual. Color, at that point, color doesn't matter because the feelings are the same.
yeah, you're right. And it's totally like in my head, I was like, what happened to empathy? Like, where did it go? Like, I feel like I say that a lot, but like, it's true. Like, what you're saying is, you know, like, you would not say that if you could see, if you could feel what this other person felt, you wouldn't say that. And it's, I also think it's such like a poor thing to say, because even if you're trying to say it out of positivity and love, it's just
Right,
like,
right.
but what about also like celebrating people's different like heritages? Like, we all have different cultures, and that's
Absolutely.
also like, you're not going to recognize that either, because like those are also beautiful things. Like,
Very
we all have like
beautiful.
beautiful histories, like beautiful
Yes.
like music, songs, like traditions, like that have been
Yes.
like passed down, and it's just like, that's also what you're missing. Like, if you don't see color,
Oh
like,
my
you're missing the
gosh.
injustice, but you're also looking like the beauty of being different.
Absolutely. And as I've said in different settings that I've been in, again, being, I would say, all over the world, but being in Africa, being in Iraq, being in, Japan, being in different places, experiencing different things that I've experienced, I've also stated that without diversity, and that's where the different cultures, the different ethnicities, the different genders, let's just take it even deeper. And I keep hearing this on the news too. They talk about sexual preference, but I literally talked to a and try to be politically correct, but a gay woman, and she said there's a difference. She said you have sexual preference and you have sexual orientation. And watching the news and watching all that, there is a difference. Sexual preference is what you and I like. That's my preference. But you also have sexual orientation is what you identify yourself to be. And so understanding that without diversity of all those race, color, creed, orientation, preference, without diversity, we as a society, we as a people, we fail
Yeah.
because your perspective is skewed, meaning you only look at something one way. And it's interesting that in the military, when we encounter an enemy, we then start to study the enemy. And this is very interesting now that it comes to me. Why is it that the military studies the enemy so that we can train our soldiers to respond to the enemies, but yet we don't respond, we don't study our other cultures to understand how to deal and to deal with them?
Yeah, how to like better communicate. Yeah, that is yeah, that's interesting. That like because you do like I understand what you're saying. Like you spent so much time trying to, in a way, win. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like what about putting more time and more money into not winning, but like learning how to understand and communicate,
Absolutely.
so no one has to fight,
Absolutely.
because like no one actually wants violence, like no one wants war, like
No.
war is like the scariest thing that could happen, like everyone know war bad, like war bad, you know what I mean,
Right,
like no
right,
one
right, right.
wants like a World War III,
No, no,
like
no, no. Or a civil war.
or a civil war,
Right.
yeah,
Absolutely.
like because
Absolutely.
that's scary, and like even you just mentioning that, like like it's so scary because it's just like we are becoming more divided as a nation, like the polarization of us is like strong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
And it's hard, like like for me it's difficult because I want to say, like, I want to be open-minded, I want to understand, like I
Mm-hmm.
really don't, like maybe when I'm like upset and hungry, I'm like, I don't care what you're talking about,
Right.
like this is,
Right.
but like really, like no, I want to understand because I don't want to believe that people are hateful, like I want to believe that there's something like I'm missing, like maybe that we're
Right.
missing and we're not
I,
communicating to each other.
I think it goes both ways. And we talk about listening, and I hear people saying that, but and again, I mentioned it earlier, I like to hear what they got to say. So sometimes I've learned, and maybe this is the military in me, sometimes just listen to your enemy. Just listen to them. They're going to tell you everything. Just listen. We're gonna go around this way. We're gonna do it this way. This is how we're gonna do it. Man, you better be lucky that you didn't do this because I would have did that. You're telling me all of your tactics. So the beautiful thing is that with people that are racist, they need to be listened to as well. The reason being is because us listening lets us know how their brain works. So, for instance, now we're getting starting to pick at some things like operate the game operation, like we're starting to pick we're starting to pick at things and try not to hit the sides. You hear people say, the coronavirus. I'm not going to use the slang terms because again, I'm gonna be respectful of all the viewers. But we hear the slang terms that are being used. So if we listen to the people that who justify the slang term of the coronavirus and ask them simple questions. Do you think that saying the China virus or the Wuhan virus, which is the specific location and province or and country that it came from, is the same as saying the slang term? Ask the question, leave a question mark. Now listen, if they say yes, then that's the connection for them. So when I say China virus, in their mind, they hear the slang. But in other people's minds, they may hear you're identifying the location. You're identifying this. It's like saying, I'm going to flip it again. It's like saying the virus came from Africa. So you can say the African virus, or you can say what black people are called virus. Which one is, I mean, some people's minds, apparently those equal. Other people's mind, like, no, two totally separate things. But the whole point is that we all as a community, and I've even learned today, we just have to listen. Sometimes talking is not the answer. The best thing to do is to truly listen, but listening has to happen on both sides of the spectrum.
That is so interesting because I agree, right? Because like really, like I'm not a fan of cancel culture because I don't think that solves anything, like blocking off communication. And it's just like, because like, yeah, you have to listen to both sides because it's just like, you know, like the people that we call racist, like I don't think they think they're racist. I mean, maybe, but you know, like it's like being called a racist is like no one wants to be called a racist. A lot of times right now, it's just like if you assert anything like that, people get defensive. So it's like, you know, that already like, you know, proves to me that you know that racism is bad.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But like listening to them to figure out like, yeah, how are things, or like you said, like how are certain words, how are like ideas and stuff being like processed in their head, and then we can better try to communicate from that, because that's something that you can work with.
Absolutely.
Like I'm glad you said that because it's true. Like we have to like look at their process, like because you know, like I you know, like I'm Asian and there is a long history of anti-blackness and like racism towards black people from like the Asian Filipino community. Like it's true. It's something that we have to address, you know, and like that's great for at least me to think about, to be like, okay, well, if I'm going to address family members and stuff like that, like I do need to come from a place of compassion and understanding, because they know that racism is bad. They just really don't think that they're being racist. Like they don't. And like, you know, like there's a lot of things like yesterday, like my friends Alyssa and Tony, they told me like their mom is Filipino and their dad is black. You know, that when their mom was telling her family, like, I'm going to marry this man, he's black, that her family was like, oh, like black men beat their women. Like, you need to be careful. And like, you know, for me, it's just like, woo, 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 racist. Like, no, like this is not okay. But for them, like, even though like, you know, like that's definitely unfair and there's definitely anti-blackness there, but for them, like their thought was, I'm trying to protect my daughter.
Absolutely.
Like, and so trying to like, because like those are the parts, like you're right, like those are the parts that we need to understand so we can like better focus in and communicate, because if it turns into all fighting and all like finger pointing, then like we're really not going to get anywhere.
Not get anywhere. Those are like the pawns on the chessboard. They're valuable, but they're overlooked.
Yes. Those little things. Oh, and it's so hard. Are you a patient person? You seem like a very patient person. Maybe not.
I'm not gonna sit here and lie. So some would say no, but to others they would say yeah. I you know, we're all work in progress. You know, I'm not perfect, and I know that. It's just, I think we all deal with things differently depending on what they are. I am a person, and I be honest, I do not like conflict, especially with loved ones. I do not like conflict. I don't do a whole lot of dancing. You know, I don't do a whole bunch of twerking. So I am the type of person that when I see us going in a circle, I could do like this, you can't tell. We're going in a circle, I'm like, okay, I'm getting dizzy. I don't do, like, even going to amusement park, I don't do circle rides. That's just, I don't do stuff like, we're not going anywhere. So I've learned to just kind of shut it down. Like, all right, you know. And so with that, I do find myself to be patient in some instances, but at the same time, it can be misconstrued. Like, I don't care. like I'm not listening. It can be misconstrued in a certain way. And even my mom said that to me growing up. You know, we would get on you and we would say things to you, and you would act like it wasn't it, like we couldn't get through to you. But I'm listening. I'm dissecting everything that you're saying. It's just my mannerism. At the same time, I didn't grow up with a whole lot of conflict at home. You know, a whole lot of arguing, a whole bunch of debating. Mom said something, yes, ma'am. You know, dad said, yes, sir. You know, it wasn't a whole lot of debating and back and forth either. So I just don't have. I like debate on the aspect when it's specific information. You can prove that you can, but I'm not big on generalistic statements. And so, especially with, like I even say now, with everything going on in the world today, I'm more in tune with the news and I'm watching what's going on. And I think even with that, you know, I have to be patient because what I want to happen is not happening. But so
Yeah.
I have to be patient. And then at the same time, also having a 14-year-old, you know, son and a 20-year-old daughter, you know, you learn to be patient. And to be
Oh my
honest,
God.
I'm learning and they're learning. And that's the thing, is we're all learning. You know, no, like I said, nobody's perfect. I'm not, you know, doing the best I can.
How are your children faring? How are they holding up?
Um with I think coronavirus affects them more than anything else. You know, it all is being different. You know, with coronavirus, everybody kind of being stuck in the house. Um, my daughter at the time, she was dating, so she wanted to get out and you know, spend some quality time with her friends and you know, with her friends. I say it that way. My son, I think he was good because he could, you know, do his work and then game and watch TV. So he was good. I think now, especially with the whole, you know, justice stuff and the, you know, the different deaths, even the Mr. Rashad Brooks, you know, these different things, I like to keep that in front of him because again, um, sometimes our passion can be misconstrued for aggression, and sometimes it is aggression, and anger and upsetness. But we are just you know, we're passionate people, passionate culture, and so it gets misconstrued sometimes, and sometimes people don't know how to deal with that. And so I try to keep it in front of him because it can go from being something that he sees on TV, again, watching TV shows. It's not reality, or it's fantasy. But I try to present it to him so that he realizes that it's reality. So I think with all of that, you know, and just us being intrusive parents, me and my wife, I think they're doing all right. I mean, I think they're okay. They see it, they know it's not right, they know it's not fair, but at the same time, I think it's me and my wife's responsibility to paint a clearer picture for them, saying, hey, we have to do our part as well. Like, we have to be mindful of what of how we can put ourselves in situations that can dictate some unjust to happen to us. Now there are situations to where you are totally in the green and things happen, but yet we can respond in manners. We can act certain ways that can either heighten the situation or lessen the situation. And so just again, being in the military and dealing with certain things from different types of training, using tact as we call it, you just have to be very smart, very tactful, very respectful, and just pray that everything works out. Because again, we can't dictate every situation until it happens.
Yeah. And you guys sound great. And like, that's great that, like, you know, you're very aware and that you're so involved in that and helping them to know that they're aware. And I mean, I guess it's something that you have to do, you know,
Absolutely, absolutely.
um, which is like a whole conversation within itself.
It is. It
Um,
is. It's like the bird. It's like the 2020 birds and the bees. Like it's one of those conversations that
oh my
you're
gosh.
not ready to talk about, but you got to talk about it. You know, like, oh, they're not old enough yet, but
But reality
what?
is just
Yeah,
like you said, you're a very optimistic man, but you're also a realist. Like,
absolutely,
you have
absolutely,
to know, like, yeah, yeah, until there is justice in the
Absol-
world, you know,
absolutely,
like, until we're in a
absolutely.
fair and just world, like, it's true. You have to understand, like, how people, like, and it sucks and it's unfair, but you know, you have to be real about how things are going to happen to you, and like
Right.
the fact that you can only control so much, you know,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I
and
said,
let
Jordy, you got 2 strikes against you. Right. Well, as soon as you walk out the door, you got 2 strikes against you. And I tell them that. Like, dude, you're black and you're a guy. You got 2 strikes against you already. And so so I have to keep him mindful of that. Like I even told him today, because he had to walk the dog. I said, be safe. I said, keep your head on the swivel and keep your eyes open. I love you.
yeah, like I can't even imagine having to do it. Like it honestly, it is its own like big conversation, like because it's just like it's so unfair. Like
Right.
it's so
We shouldn't have to do it. But
no.
again, it's like the birds. Hey, when you go out this house, make sure you have, it's the same
Yeah,
conversation, and then we're having a daughter, it's the same thing. Hey, protect yourself. Hey, do what's right. The same stuff. Like I have to say, you know, with my daughter growing up, I would always say, just do what's right. Do what's right. That's it. Do what's right. We've raised you to know right from wrong. Just do what's right. Now we got to go deeper in that. Keep your eyes and your ears open, looking out for other things because stuff can, just like even the riots, the black community is always painted as the ones doing all this rioting. Um, Look at the news. It's not always us, but it's so easy to for the facade to be painted. I even say it like this: for the facade to be black faced. I say just like that. It's the painting on the outside, but once you remove the painting, you reveal who it really is.
yeah. It's and it's so because we have social media and everyone has been using social media as this wonderful tool to actually like be showing in like
Absolutely.
live time like what's happening. It's also
Mm-hmm.
kind of crazy, like they're
Yeah.
still like they still do that tactic of like, oh no, it's them starting the riots, like the protesters and the rioters are the same, and it's just like there's evidence, but they're just like no, you know, because they're the news.
Absolutely.
Because they have that power, and because apparently news, like there's no morality there
And it's
apparently.
absolutely, it's very interesting as being a YouTuber, you start to look at stuff differently because it's like a photographer. When a photographer is out walking, he or she looks at stuff differently. They look at stuff through the lens. Is that picture going to be right? Is the composition for that right? Is the location of that right? They look at stuff differently than how everybody else looks at it. Normal people look at it as just scenery. They look at it as trying to capture that moment, that second. Well, when you're like a YouTuber like myself, you understand editing and how you can cut and chop things, and so then you start looking at stuff that didn't go with that, and that was something y'all used 2 months ago. You look at things a lot differently because, and I say it like this: certain news stations, and I'm again far left or far right, certain news stations like to paint a facade for its viewers so that they can maintain a perspective that they have to keep them institutionalized to their beliefs.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because too, like what you're saying, like it's so true. Like, you know, you hear about and see like photographs of like cops kneeling with the protesters, and then you have a video about the same thing where it's like they kneel with the protesters, and once that picture is done, they go back to being aggressive towards the protesters. Like, so it's
Absolutely.
just like it like what you're saying is like so like it's so spot on and it's so right, and it's something we have to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And like it seems like, oh, what a low blow, but it's just like, but these are how people use their tools. Like that's how
It's
like it's a
real.
low blow. Yeah, but like it's effective. It's
Absolutely.
real and it's effective
Absolutely.
because it just, you know, it keeps people on that whole like, oh, but the looting, but the rioting, and it keeps them centered there because they are centering it there. And now they have
Mm-hmm.
videos, they have, you know, like whatever they want to put
Mm-hmm.
that isn't always necessarily the whole picture.
And that's a very powerful thing you just said because a lot of people don't know, and it's something that I prayed that can come to fruition. That I've actually talked to some people at the very beginning. The very beginning of 25 Miles for Justice is that how could we better, what could we do? And I said I think a forum would be beautiful, meaning you have, of course, being cycling driven, but you have a group of cyclists, and you have maybe police officers that also cycle, and you have this forum, and you have a moderator, but it's almost like a town hall meeting. And what you can then have is these officers explaining some of the tactical training procedures that they go through in their training, and understand the day-to-day stressors that they deal with. Because even though the whole situation and the stuff that's happening has happened, this is something we can't forget. Police officers are human beings too. Police officers are men and women too. Police officers also have families. Some have wives and children, and husbands and children that they have to go to at the end of their shift. But I think the disconnect is we don't understand their role. We don't understand their job. Just like a lot of people don't understand what the military does. I mean, a lot of people really don't understand. They know, oh, you're military. Oh my God. Oh my. But it's really, I mean, in a lot of sense, not to take away from what we do, but at the same time, you go to work every day, you get a paycheck. Same for me. So, same but different. But at the same time, I did a side by side, because at one point in time I did want to be a police officer. So while I was in Mississippi, I did a side by side for a day with an officer. And majority of officers' jobs is what we don't see on camera, meaning that they have to write reports. And so this is why it makes so much sense to me how all of this is coming to the light now. And so also being in the military, we have to do reports. I do construction in the military. So we have to do, quality control reports, safety reports. We, all the construction summary sheet reports, and safety data sheet, all these different types of reports and writings and all this stuff, which takes a lot of time. Cops have to do the same thing. So for me, have that experience, I understand how we can see the difference now. Why they're starting to get in trouble now when before they weren't. So, for example, I kicked in the door. What I wrote on the paper, because I had to do a report after my shift. I kicked in the door, and the person had a gun pointed at me. That's what I wrote down. But what actually happened, because the camera recorded it, was that the person was there with a broom in their hand. So you can see how the two stories don't go together. But yet, what people don't know, a lot of people don't know that a lot of the stuff gets pushed aside because of the report that was written. And actually, to give highlight into the situation is, look at the 75-year-old man that had a brain injury. The report was written that he tripped. That's standard practice. They have to do reports of everything. Even, I mean, let's just be real. They're human, which means some stuff gets left out. So he tripped. But because there was a camera there, we see what really happened. And that's where the issue is happening, is that now the reports are no longer the standalone. Now what's happening is we're starting to see video of all this stuff from smartphones and GoPro cameras, the live feeds. All this stuff we're able to see immediately as it's happening, versus it being written as a report, and we never even hear about it because of how it was written down.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. Like that's true. Okay, so this is where my mind went, was like, because I watch SVU a lot. Like, and it's like they had that on there, and it's like, I feel like sometimes, like, when people think about that stuff and when they think about corruption, like with what you're saying, like now it's actually being brought to life in a very real, like, you can't really refute that way. Like, and when you do refute it, like, you're just refuting it because you have nothing left else to do. Like, that's out of desperation.
Right.
But like most of us are just used to seeing it in a TV show that's about corruption, or in a film, like in a movie, like it's we're detached from it.
Fantasy, yeah.
And even then you could be like, oh, that probably happens. But like, it's a difference when you see it happen. Like no, like, look, like, here's what the news is saying. Here's what all this like live feed is showing. Like,
absolutely.
And now it's like, it's just in front of our eyes now in a very real way.
And it's something else too that I like to highlight. It's integrity. Integrity, which goes with justice, it's a very hard thing. And what this does is it really makes everybody, doesn't even, it's just like coronavirus. Coronavirus don't care what color your skin is. Neither does integrity. The issue is anytime you're in a community of people, integrity is always at stake. What does that mean? If I do something wrong and you let me slide, integrity just got compromised. Because now I got something over you. It's even in politics. This is the thing that we struggle with because integrity calls us all to the line. If you let me slide, now you got something on me. So when you do something wrong, I got to let you slide. But then and what happens? It just festers. So what happens is you have an officer that did something wrong, but he's probably got some information on that officer that did something wrong. So now nobody's saying nothing about anything. So now you got all this wrong happening and can't be wrong and right. So now justice can't be served because exactly.
Yeah.
Because everybody so how you gonna charge me when I know the dirt you did? You see? How you gonna hold?
Yeah, it's again like systemic racism, right? It's a systemic problem.
It
because
is.
like there isn't enough integrity. You're right, and that's like
it is.
That's such a big thing too that I feel like is gonna be like integral to this actually moving forward past a trend and like integrating to real life. Like we all have to hold each other accountable. Like not just like yes, our families and our friends and like, you know, our coworkers, but also like the companies we work for, you know, the organizations we deal with. And I'm not saying like, you know, and holding someone accountable and like asking them to show integrity, like that's not necessarily attacking anyone.
Not at all.
But it's just like, why can't you go up to your company, to your HR person, be like, hey, what are we doing for Black Lives Matters? Like, are we doing anything? Like, are we doing anything like even in-house to like address anti-Blackness? Because
absolutely
it exists. And like that's absolutely. I'm hoping more people like what you said, like definitely like bring up integrity and holding everyone and ourselves accountable because like you're right. Like it's easy to just be like, oh well, I saw like they saw me do something, so I just like I guess I'm not gonna say anything.
Right.
Because like that's my friend, you know, like that's my coworker, like or we're all part of the same company, so I guess like we're on the same team.
Absolutely. Like you said. And like you said about standing up, you know, me and my race team, I ride for Lagrange race team, Velo Club Lagrange out of LA, one of the oldest cycling clubs in California. They were founded in 1969. And we had a meeting, and I was honored to be a part of this meeting as the token Black guy. Which was cool. I have stuff like that. I'm okay with it because I've pretty much been how my mom raised me. She said, don't let you being the only one stop you from doing what you want to do. And that's another reason why I love cycling, because I'm okay being the only one, but I want more people. But my point is that we were talking about doing something and writing, making a statement. And I had to say something. I was compelled to say something because in this situation, the 25 miles for justice, the Black Lives Matter, the All Lives Matter, and all of that, some people feel like you have to do something for us, like, and that's not what we're asking for. What we're asking for is to be seen as equal. If you're going to charge me, charge him. If you're going to do for him, do for me. And that's what I told them. I said, hey, if we're out on a bike ride and you see an officer and he's harassing me, do me a favor by standing with me, standing up for me, by saying, being there, saying, hey, he didn't do anything wrong because I'm with my club. Now, don't start tucking tail and running because they're dealing with me. Be there with me. Now, I also express to them, if you guys are going to do something for said member, be equal and fair to the other member. Doesn't matter what the color of their skin is. Doesn't matter their sex, their gender. Just be equal. I said that's what the majority of us want. And at this point, you have a lot of Black people saying, "Just leave us alone. Like, just leave me. Just leave me alone." And so I think what they mean by that is, you ain't messing with him, so don't mess with me. And I think that's a big a takeaway, because a lot of people feel like, what can I do? What can I do? Just be fair. Just be equal. Just be just.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's so good. I'm glad you have that, and I'm glad honestly, I'm also just glad that that your cycling group heard you out in general.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think that there's this thing that's unfortunately happening where people really want to be good allies to the Black community, and sometimes it turns into speaking over them.
Yeah.
And again, it's no one's perfect and everyone's learning.
Hmm.
But that just makes me happy that you're that was a positive experience for you.
Yeah, it was.
Because it's not for everyone. I'm just thinking of one of my friends where I'm just super talked over, super not listened to from our organization. It's just
Hmm.
that certainly sucks. Stop saying everything's just gonna be okay. Everything wasn't okay already.
Right,
So
right.
what are why would you even say that at all? That doesn't
Hmm.
just let her talk, man.
Right.
Just listen.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
Just
A
listen.
lot of people have a hard time with that. They don't know how.
Yes,
They don't know
that's
how.
true.
They don't
That's
know how.
true.
You know. I
God.
had a good buddy of mine when I first engaged to my wife. He taught me something. He says he was taught this. He says you can't speak when there's something in your mouth. So what he would do when we would start talking, because he would want to talk too,
Mm.
he would keep a glass of water, and when he had that urge to say something, he would drink some water. Because if he went to speak, he would spit water on himself, and he doesn't want to do that. So when he wanted to talk, and he knew what he wanted, and his purpose was to listen to me, he would drink. He would drink some water, so he couldn't say anything. So some people don't know how to listen, so you have to muzzle it.
That's smart though, because I mean, come on, I just feel our culture already we're like this, we go like this. And so we have this thing where we interrupt each other, not even meaning to even go against what you just said or refute what you just said, but it's just we start assuming oh, I know where you're going with this, so I'm going to add this.
True.
Or I know where you're going with this, so I am going to refute it. I know where you're going, so I just go and and that's something I know I need to work on that sometimes, because you feel the passion of what you're saying, and that's fine. But also it's just don't talk over the other person though too, because they're having their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to express to you their passion and beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really smart, and now I'm going to try that. I'm not horrible at it, but I'm
Right.
definitely going to try that now, because that just
But
seems,
it's a tool. Yeah, it's a tool
yeah,
for
it's a
you. Yeah.
tool.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's already 6:28. Yeah, time flies. Time flies.
Yeah.
Thank you for for being here. I
No
want
problem.
to what
Thank you
shall
for
I
having
ask
me.
you as your ending question?
Oh Lord.
It's okay, it's not gonna be hard. I guess what what do what do you hope for? What do you hope comes out of all this? Out of 25 miles
Miles for
for
justice.
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 Yes, justice.
Justice.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, action. I think out of everything, action. Um, because they say, what do we always say? Action is harder than words, and action is what 25 Miles for Justice has encouraged a lot of people to do, by being active. And so I think active forward progression is all I can ask for. A step in the right direction is better than no step at all, or even a step backwards. And I think if it's from tearing down statues, I think if the conversations are being had, the statues are being officially and organizationally identified that needs to be removed, bases being changed. I think any forward progression, action, is what I expect and I hope out of 25 Miles for Justice.
Yay, that's beautiful. Again, yeah, thank you for being here. This was super interesting, and I
Thank
feel
you for having me.
like I have some things to reflect on myself with some things that like your just point of views on things, especially with, you know, like keeping your mind open and like wholeheartedly trying to understand like something and not just like what we see on the news, but also like how is this process
Right.
like either whether it's like in someone's head or it's like, right, like what is the police officer's like process when
Right.
they're, you know, dealing with their job. Like those are things to be aware of.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it doesn't stay surface in my mind. So thank you. Like
Thank you.
I'm excited to think more. I'm excited to think more and reflect. But yeah, this was great. And I hope to have you again soon if you would love that, or just like, yeah.
Don't forget your friend. Don't forget your friend.
Yeah. What?
The guy that you said, the hobby guy.
Oh, Alex.
See?
Yes. Okay. Yes, Alex. Okay, good. I will tell you that when we get off. Where can people find you? I know I put your link tree here because it had everything.
link tree. Link tree. But you can find me on Facebook, whether you want to go personal, which is Garnet Whitmire III, or you can check me out on at the same place, Facebook at Critwit Cycling. You can also find me on YouTube, which is called Critwit Cycling Vlogs. You can find me on Instagram, which is Critwit, which is crit.wit, CRIT, period, WHIT. Strava, Critwit. Also on Facebook, I started a club called GSOC, which stands for Good Stewards of Cycling. So if you're looking and you're an active member, you're a cyclist, please check out GSOC on Facebook underneath the groups or clubs. That'll be there. And there's also a Strava club called GSOC as well. And again, that stands for Good Stewards of Cycling. So again, got 25 Miles for Justice going on. There's also a 25 Miles for Justice Instagram page. So please go over there and support that. Just started that. And that's how you can get a hold of your boy, C-Dub.
Yay! Thank you for being here one more time. And thank you everyone for watching. Definitely have some comments to look at later. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. It's been amazing. Tomorrow I have Epoc, who is going to come and talk about trying times as an artist. She's amazing. I also met her through Benito. And Emma. So yeah, I'm excited to have her tomorrow. She's gonna go on at 5:45. Please check out Critwit. I feel like it's easy to find him. Like just Google Critwit, and like if you can't find him from that, 25 Miles for Justice plus that. Like it's really easy.
That's me.
So yeah, go check him out. He's obviously great, very passionate man. So I'm very grateful. Bye everybody.
Bye.